Hi, friends. So, this week I'm going to be painting on these pencil pouches. I have done this before, but I liked doing it. I still have a bunch of blank pouches sitting in my drawer, and I just mixed up a ton of fabric paint last week, so I might as well use it up. So, for the first one, I'm going to start out with something kind of simple. I was really tired and really struggling with motivation on the day that I was working on this, so I'm just going to do what I know. Some cute cartoony animals. Well, actually only part of the animal. I have no idea where this idea came from. It just popped into my brain from the heavens and there it was. Although I guess I did paint just a butt last time I painted pencil pouches. So this is the sequel. Butt 2.0. Revenge of the Rump. Too short, too swishy. Okay, enough. Anyway, I also wanted to do something sort of simple because I'm using a different paint this time, and I'm not sure what the end product is going to be like. The last time I used leather paint, which sort of sinks into the fabric and ends up a little bit stiff and scratchy. But this time I'm using a mix of puffy and matte fabric paint, which also sinks into the fabric and ends up a little bit stiff and scratchy. Maybe it's the fabric of these bags. Oh well. So obviously we have a raccoon, a crocodile or alligator. I have no idea how you tell the difference. A lion, even though I'm not sure you can tell it's a lion. It sort of looks like a giraffe without spots. A mermaid, and a fox. I stuck with really simple cartoony details with no shading. And if you're new here, I usually paint right to left because I'm left-handed, and I 100% will rest my hand in wet paint, so I try to avoid adding to the mistakes I'll already inevitably have to fix. Then I added a darker blue outline to make them stand out a little bit more. I'm getting a bit more motivated as I'm working on this, but I still like how simple it is, so I didn't want to add anything to this, and I'm kind of eager to finish it and move on. And for the back, I just went with plain blue. And that's it for this one. The fabric is a little stiff, but it sort of feels like it would soften up if I used this bag for a bit and worked it in. I mean, that's probably not going to happen because I don't want to get it dirty, but the potential is there. With this first bag, I didn't really use up any paint so much as I actually mixed up more, so let's keep going. For the next bag, I'm going to go with something a little less cartoony, but still definitely in my comfort zone. An oceany landscape. An oceanscape? Or a seascape? I think it's a seascape. Anyway, I already had a lot of pinks and purples and blues mixed up, so this should use some of them up. I started with a nice blendy sunset, and I 1000% thought this was going to take forever to blend, but something about fabric paint is magic. This blended so easily. I'm not even cutting this shot at all. I'm going to leave the whole clip in so you can see how easily and quickly this blended. I don't know if it's because the paint stays wet longer, or maybe the fabric grips it better so it doesn't pull up the layers each time you go over it. This was so easy. This whole sky took me 13 minutes total, for 2 layers. Maybe everyone watching this is going to be like, yeah, duh, of course it does that, and I'm just super easily impressed, but I was amazed by this. I used a teeny little brush to get into the little armpits of the bag, and even blending that out was pretty easy. I gotta stop saying blending. I added a sun to the sunset, had a rogue hair in there. And then back to more blending for the water. Someone commented on my last video that I was using too small of brushes, and you're absolutely not wrong. But listen, I am a super nervous painter, and smaller brushes just seem more careful to me. Maybe someday I'll have the confidence to use a fat daddy brush and fling paint all around willy-nilly, but for now, I'm scared. But I mean, at least I'm still going for it and doing art, even if it is in an overly cautious way. I did level up a little bit at the bottom of the water here, where I was a little less worried about messing up what I'd already painted. And of course, I proceeded to make a mess of my background with the paint. But here is where I get really, really brave, because I'm going to freehand some stuff with no idea what I'm doing. I mean, yes, I am working off of a reference, but I didn't sketch anything, and I've never painted a reflection in the water. The first few swipes of this black paint right here were especially scary. There's no fixing the water if I mess it up. But I just kind of went for it, and they actually came out pretty palm tree shaped. For the palm leaves, I used a flat brush to make a ton of little lines, and after doing the first one, I did a little self-cheer, because it looks good. This is not going to ruin the whole picture. In a couple of previous videos, I've talked about how painting cherry blossoms is so satisfying that I just never want to stop painting them. And now I feel like these palm trees are the same. It's so much fun to have something come out looking so cool without it being super hard to do. I even considered adding more palm trees on the other side of the picture since it's kind of empty, but instead I decided to add something better. A tiny little buddy. Hey there, friend. I wasn't sure what color to paint the back of the pouch, and I actually didn't make too big of a mess, so I just left it plain. And this one is done. I'm super happy with this pouch. I actually thought this was probably going to be kind of a boring idea, and I still did it anyway. And I was surprised when it started coming along so quickly, but I actually really, really love it. It's probably the colors. So I have time for one more pouch, and for this one, I want to get really loosey-goosey. Well, as loosey-goosey as I get. I don't have a super clear plan or vision, so I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. I know that I want to paint a peacock, and I want his feathers spread out behind him. And I sketched out a vague plan, but I kept messing up the placement of the feathers, so obviously going right in with paint is a much better plan. I'm starting with a bunch of circles that will be the center of the feathers, and using those to make offset concentric circles around the peacock. I think I'm hoping that just starting with circles will be easier to make an evenly spaced pattern than when I was trying to draw leafy feather shapes. I'm also making the circles bigger as they move further out, since there's more space in between them. There's still a few kind of questionable spots where the spacing is weird, but this isn't realism. It's loosey-gooseyism. After the circles are done, now I feel like I can go in with some feather shapes. And these are looking a hot steaming mess. But we're just starting out, and I know about the ugly stage, so I'm not panicking. Next, I'm going to try to fix up each of these feathers. I didn't really have a plan for what they'd look like other than the colors I wanted and a vague shape, so this first row was sort of a test. I used each color to refine the shape a little bit on each feather. I used the light green to resize or even out the blue inner circle. Then I used the emerald green to reorient the point of the feathers. I filled in the blank spots with the dark blue, and then I used the purple to outline each feather. I'm definitely not going for precision or perfection, but I do know I can clean up some of the leftover mess when I paint the background. And hopefully, watching this transformation is as relaxing for you as it was for me to paint. I filled in the background only in the feathered areas, because I'm not sure yet what I want to do for the body, so I might as well kill some time while I think. I still didn't think of what to do for the body, but I did decide that the feathers needed something more, so I'll just add some center circles. Which gave me an idea for these little butt feathers. And then I'll fill in the rest of the background while I'm at it. Okay, It's time. I have to do something. I couldn't really decide which of the feather colors to use for the peacock's body, and I already know that I can blend with this paint on this fabric, so I decided to use all of the colors. Starting with dark purple, blending into blue, and then blending into the emerald green. It was a little trickier to blend in crisp outlines, and the green to blue switch was putting up a fight, but eventually I got it to a point I was comfortable with. But I don't actually like that green on the neck of the peacock. I feel like he gets a little lost in there, like he blends into his own feathers. So I added a dark purple outline to help clear up some of that confusion. Then I added some legs, a beak, and some head feathers. Since he's so dark in the face region, I gave him some pretty markings so his tiny little eye is a little bit more noticeable. And he's done. He's beautiful. He's not perfect, and there's definitely a lot of areas that I normally would have gone over again or given a second pass, but I forced myself to just let it be, and I think that's why I like him so much. The back is just plain pink in case you were wondering. I don't want to leave any cliffhangers. So that's all for this week. Which one was your favorite? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.